details of the President-elect's speech now. He's urging Congress to move quickly on his economic aid package, warning that a failure to do so would have, quote, devastating long-term consequences for the economy. He said, I don't believe it's too late to change course, but it will be, if we don't take dramatic action as soon as possible, a resulting devastating impact on the economy. Obama said if nothing is done, this recession could linger for years. He's making the case for quick action on his American Recovery and Reinvestment Plan. The President-elect says the plan will save or create more than 3 million jobs and invest in health care, energy, and education. The speech is carried live now on a number of networks in the U.S. He expects that the cost will exceed $800 billion. He's also addressing some critics who are saying that they oppose a massive spending plan by the federal government. Those would be the Republicans, who are still advocating reductions in taxes. More updates on the Ukraine-Russia imbroglio with gas. Now, all gas supplies to Europe via the Ukraine have been shut down. The cutoff is now showing the first signs of hitting the European economy as the Hungarian unit of the Japanese car maker Suzuki has halted production because of restrictions on industrial users of gas. Suzuki says it hopes to restart production on Monday. Apparently now the shutdown has left Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, and Romania with no Russian gas supplies, this amidst a bitter cold snap across much of the continent. Europe depends on Russia for about 40% of its imported gas. Shortages have also resulted in France and Turkey. This morning, the heads of the Russian and Ukrainian gas companies held an unexpected meeting in Moscow to discuss this dispute. Both sides said that no breakthrough had been reached. Both parties then flew on to Brussels to meet with the European Union. The compromise is not yet been seen, according to the Russian negotiator, although both sides are working. That compromise would, of course, deal with the transit prices that the Ukraine charges the Russians for transport of gas across its territory. Speaking of the cold snap, Europe is really being whacked. Freezing temperatures and exceptional snowfall caused travel delays yesterday. As we reported, the Italian airports were shut down, and 12 deaths have been blamed on the cold snap. In Poland, 10 people have frozen to death due to temperatures reaching minus 13 degrees. In Italy, a businessman in Milan was killed when snow brought down a canopy and part of a wall. A gentleman in Serbia was found frozen to death in his home. Even the sunny south of France saw trains being halted because of snow, and icebreakers in the Dutch port of Rotterdam were deployed for the first time in a long time. Today and yesterday are the two biggest capacity days seen in history on the French electrical grid, and this is a result of increased power consumption during the cold snap. In Rome, keepers at the, and this is not the picture of Canute, keepers at the Capitol Zoo, it's not. Keepers at the Capitol Zoo fed primates a special breakfast of warm barley porridge, croissants, and cookies to make sure they had enough calories to keep up their body temperature. At lunch, believe it or not, the animals sipped hot tea along with rice and yogurt. Germany had its coldest night of the year with a temperature of minus 18 degrees measured at one weather station in the eastern part of the country. In the Berlin Zoo, we've followed Canute the polar bear, who may be being moved out of there so he can find a mate. But anyway, he's relished the bitter cold snap, scampering about his enclosure as visitors are watching. And why not? This is the temperature he's used to. And as I mentioned, up in Rotterdam, for the first time since 1996, the Dutch have had to deploy an icebreaker in order to make sure that the port is clear. Bad weather is also seen in the northwestern U.S. We've been reporting on the heavy snowfall over the past several weeks up in Washington State. Well, the bill is coming due now. Rain and high winds continued to lash the state yesterday and this morning. It's causing avalanches, mudslides, flooding, and road closures as the heavy snowfall is beginning to melt. More than 30,000 people have been told to evacuate. Rising waters prompted state highway crews to close a 20-mile stretch of Interstate 5 around the town of Chehalis last night. According to the National Weather Service, this is going to be a memorable flood event. apparently the town of Orting, about 10 miles southeast of Tacoma, with 26,000 people, is expected to be underwater later today when the Puyallup River nearby crests. That'll be something. More news on the Continental 737-500 that went off the runway in Denver last month. We're beginning to get some details from the pilot. The pilot of the plane told federal safety investigators that he struggled to keep the plane on course during the takeoff. The NTSB said that the pilot said that when the plane suddenly diverged to the left during a takeoff roll, he tried to correct the course with the rudder but could not. The pilot also told investigators that he tried using the jet's tiller to manipulate the steering of the nose gear, but that didn't keep the plane on the runway either. According to the NTSB, investigators have compiled enough evidence to indicate that it could be a combination of either mechanical problems or something to do with the rudder. Thus far, though, no mechanical problems have been found in the nose gear, which was dug out of the ground last week. The picture you're looking at is probably the most famous BlackBerry in the world right now, and the hands holding it are the hands of the President-elect Barack Obama. If you have followed President-elect Obama, you know that he's been addicted to use of his BlackBerry, which is strapped to his belt at all times. However, the President-elect concedes that he might be losing his battle to maintain his independent lifeline to the outside world. He said last night, "I'm still clinging to my BlackBerry. They're going to have to pry it out of my hands." All the fights facing Obama as he prepares for his inauguration on the 20th, one of the most maddening for him is the prospect of losing the BlackBerry that has been attached to his belt. It is, he's vigorously argued, an essential link to keeping him apprised of events outside his ever-tightening cocoon. Quote, "This is a concern, I should add, not just of the Secret Service, but also of lawyers." He said, "You know, this town," referring to Washington, "is full of lawyers. I don't know if you've noticed." Obama shared his agitation at the prospect of losing his last form of direct communication with friends and advisors who send him email. But he, like President Bush before him, is being advised for security reasons and his own legal protection to refrain from sending email during his presidency. He said, "I don't know that I'll win, but I'm still fighting. I like the BlackBerry." Well, too bad there are restrictions against such things, but he probably could get some help. He could provide some advertising help to that Research in Motion group right now. They're certainly getting a lot of press out of this. Stock market down about 90 points. The President-elect has just wrapped up his speech. If we have any other breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. And thanks for watching.